Alright guys, welcome to another video. Today I'm going to talk about my favorite commander pairing as of December 2023, and also in my opinion probably the best commander pairing in the game right now. So right now we're in KVK, alright, we're doing Heroic Anthem. If you guys have been following the channel at all, we just started KVK 6 and we just finished Zone 5 fighting. So Zone 5 is this zone down here where water camp on the bottom left. Excuse me. And then we were fighting wind camp, right? I don't actually know why it's called Zone 5. Maybe someone could let me know in the comments. I've been calling it Zone 4 for a lot of my time playing, just because, you know, there's past 4s that open that connect into the zone from both sides. So I thought just, you know, whatever zone you have access to through the past, you would call it Zone whatever that number is. But a lot of people, I see a lot more people call it Zone 5. So maybe the starting zone is Zone 4 and this zone Zone 5. Regardless, it's this zone down here. Right now, I think that matters because right now you can, like, after fighting in that zone, I get to see how my commander pairings do, and also I get to see what other people are using, what it, for lack of a better word, what it feels like when you're fighting other commander pairs, and you get a sense of what's good, what's not good, what's more popular, and then looking at the report, what trades the best, right? So just based on feel and also looking at the reports, Scipio and Liu Che is by far my best March. And I'll go over it a little bit more. Let's actually go over to my commanders. All right, so if you look at my gear right now, this is not good gear. I mean, it's not, it's a little bit better than the bare minimum that you should be having in Season of Conquest, but it's not like really good gear. And honestly, for a competitive player, this is probably like bottom 30%, I've had to guess, maybe bottom 20%. Now, it does reach a minimum threshold where if you don't at least have like the Hope Cloak, and then at least a helm, and then or to get the 2-piece, then it's not even good enough to be the bare minimum, right? And the reason why I stopped here is because to get gear better than this, the opportunity costs, right? So the amount of materials and blueprints you need to invest, and this was before the new iconic system came out, to get the gear better versus working on gear somewhere else wasn't worth it, right? I will say, after kind of experiencing a maxed out Liu Che, so I had Scipio Liu Che last KVK, but neither were maxed out, and now both Scipio and Liu Che is maxed out. I think I will update my strategy a little bit, where once I get 3 rings and 3 horns each, so right now I'm at 1 ring and 1 horn, working on my 2nd ring, I would actually probably go and just max this out and get the gear to a better place, just so if I wanted one good March to city pop, to do some of the annoying things to get efficient trades, I'll have that, and also just to maximize the best March in the game. Okay, so what makes this March so good? So first, it's fast enough, right? That doesn't necessarily show up when it comes to duels, right? When you see content creators show reports of duels, but if your March isn't fast enough, 1, you can't chase people down, but 2, if you just get slightly out of position, you take way more damage, right? So the fastest meta March in the game is Nevsky Joan. Scipio Liu Che is not nearly as fast as Nevsky Joan, but they're more than fast enough. I don't even have this 4-piece bonus here where I get 10% extra movement speed. The second one is whether the March is tanky enough, right? And then there's also a psychological component where, like, does your March get targeted? So I know for me personally, and I think most of you watching that play for a while, if you see an XY on the field, that's almost the first March you go for, right? The second one I would go for, that's popular out there, besides, you know, if you see like an epic commander or just something that's way out of the norm, I'll go for either a Boudica, Nebu, or a Zhuge right? It'll be an archer. So Scipio on the field doesn't actually get targeted that much. So, and when you don't get targeted that much, you have a little bit more freedom to, 1, make mistakes, but 2, you could be a little bit more aggressive, and that's also one of the reasons why I like this March a lot. And then the third one, if you think about field fighting, right? There's a couple of scenarios of field fighting. 1, there's no ball, right? It's just free for all. People are everywhere. When it's kind of unorganized, that's usually where the main fighting is over, and people are just kind of skirmishing on the field just to kind of rack up some kills. Then there is two like murder balls, where there's two big balls. It's fairly even, and you guys are just kind of trading, going back and forth. You don't necessarily need that much movement speed. You just need to not get too far out of position, and the goal there is just to pump out as much damage, preferably AoE damage, as possible, right? Then there's when there's still two balls, but one side is clearly ahead of the other side, right? So whether the burner ball on my side is we have an advantage in number and strength compared to the other side, or vice versa. If your side has an advantage, then you could be way more aggressive, and that is when like a double AoE like Zhuge Liang and YSG would be really, really good, just because the amount of AoE damage that you're pumping out is amazing, right? But if you're at a disadvantage, so if the other side has a noticeably stronger ball than you, and as soon as you guys start fighting, that ball will just feel like they're kind of rolling up on you, and you can still go back and forth and fight, but you start kind of retreating and you're on the defensive. You have to be very careful, because if you even get slightly out of position, your march is going to get melted, right? And when it comes to that situation, Scipio and Liu Che, they're fast enough to retreat, but they also have a couple of scale damage mitigations where they're tanky enough where it just doesn't feel like you get slightly out of position, or you're even on the front lines, your march melts really easily, right? And then finally, it's let's just say your side has complete control of the field, or the other side has complete control of the field. Then it comes to like city popping or structure popping, right? So like people could pop in and out of a pass, people could pop in and out of a city. Scipio and Liu Che do really well in both of those circumstances. So the reason why, let me go back. The reason why Scipio has an instant proc, right, the third skill, you can see the second part of the third skill. Every time they launch a basic attack, 10% chance to deal additional damage, right? Now, if you stay connected to the opponent or the target, you could do that damage factor 500 for 3 seconds. Or if you just stay connected to him once, you get damage factor 500. His fourth skill is if he takes skill damage, 50% chance to reduce it by 30%, but also put up a shield, right? So that's another quote-unquote instant proc. And then if you look at Liu Che, his third skill, whenever he launches a basic attack, 25% chance to deal extra smite damage. That's an instant proc, 300 damage factor. And the expertise is whenever you launch basic attack, 25% chance to launch another basic attack, right? Now this skill, this expertise skill, is in my opinion the best expertise in the game, right? It's just the difference it makes having it and not having it. I can't think of another meta commander where their expertise makes this much of a difference, right? So I talked earlier, I had Liu Che, my last KVK. He was an expertise. I think we're using him mostly around like 5551, right? Or 5511 to 5551. And then compared to this KVK, when I have this, it makes a world of difference, right? You would think an extra basic attack, or even like a 300 damage factor, excuse me, smite damage, doesn't make that much of a difference. But in every one of those scenarios I was talking about earlier, and even murder ball, just skirmishes in the field where there's no balls, when other people are city popping on you, when you're city popping on someone else, these instant procs, so the two on Liu Che and the one with Scipio, they add up quickly to make it where the trades skew heavily in your favor, right? And then Liu Che even has a defensive one, right? Which is whenever you deal a spite damage, so either you use an active skill or you launch this instant proc smite damage, the target that you're attacking deals 10% less damage, right? So that gives you a further advantage when you're doing the city popping. Or even if it's in a ball, it still makes like a small difference, right? Now, so the combination of the instant proc, just enough movement speed, just enough tankiness, and then the double AoE from both Scipio and Liu Che make this by far the most fun, but also the best March in the game to me, right? I've heard people talk about Nevsky Joan. So Nevsky Joan is a little older pair, right? Now, what makes Nevsky Joan not as good as Scipio Liu Che, in my opinion, is yes, they have more movement speed, and I think this March is actually tankier, but they don't have the instant proc. There's no instant proc, right? And also, literally drawing a blank. Oh, they don't have an instant proc, and also Nevsky is a single target commander, right? So yes, 2300 is still good enough. It's still like meta viable, but it doesn't have the same kind of punch when you're spreading it out to 3 or even 5 targets. So that's why if I had to give my favorite March right now, and my opinion the best March, I would say it's Scipio Liu Che. Herman, I think, is on the verge of coming out, right? So yesterday, I think it's Christmas Day or maybe Christmas Eve, they actually added this commander to the game. So now if you go to the part where the commander is, you can see the commanders, Herman is actually in the game, right? And I think Herman, Zhuge Liang, maybe Herman Tamaris, we'll see once it comes out, like what actually works. I think Herman Zhuge Liang, for example, would be a good March. It would be a really good March, right? And Herman does have an instant proc too, right? 10% chance to deal extra direct damage. I think it'll go up to wow, I don't know what's going on with my mouse. It'll actually go up to 200 damage factor, and it'll spread poison. So I think it'll be good, but it's not 3 instant procs like the Scipio Liu Che March. So yeah, if I'm going to revise kind of what I suggested earlier. I think talking about that transition to Season of Conquest. I think right now, the meta, in my opinion, if you are looking to invest in the commander first in Season of Conquest, I would actually go with Liu Che, and you would expertise him. Is that the expertise makes that much of a difference? And then from there, you work on Scipio, right? That March is so versatile. It can do a lot, and compared to the other options you have available, right? Infantry just came out, Liu Che just came out. You'll have that March be viable for a while, and it's versatile enough where in different field fighting situations, they're more than enough to be meta viable. All right, and then finally, just something that I changed my mind a little bit in this KVK. I think in a previous video I talked about the importance of having a lot of marches. Marches amplify your volume and ability to do damage on the field, right? It's especially good when your side is even or winning, but if your side is losing and you want to do good trades and still wear out the enemy, where hey, maybe your goal is to now drain the enemy, so that in the next zone or in Kingsland, when you meet up with your allies, you could do better. It's also important to have high quality marches. So high quality marches that will do good trades and are fun to use. It's important to actually have gear to work on those, right? So right now, I would say Nevsky Joan and Scipio Liu Che are probably the only 2 marches I would recommend to use if your goal is to wear out the enemy and get good trades when you guys don't have field where you're losing on the field. Boudica Zhuge Liang is good right now, but as far as when you're not winning the field, it just seems a little slow, right? It's like easy for that March to get caught out of position, and when it does get caught out of position, it just feels like they melt really quick. Whereas like Scipio Liu Che and then Nevsky Joan have the have the speed and tankiness to get away. Nesky Joan feels tankier to me than Scipio Liu Che, and they're obviously faster. But what they're missing is they're missing that instant proc, and also Nevsky just does single target damage. But when the active skills are going off, right, so Nevsky, then Joan, and then Joan again, right, the amount of red numbers that's popping on your screen, the raw damage you're putting out when that happens, it's really impressive, but it also takes a little bit of time to build there. Whereas Scipio Liu Che, the instant procs, you know, they're not as spectacular, but they actually add up really quick, and that's why that is my favorite, and I think the best March in the game. If you guys have any comments or anything I'm missing, please leave it in the comment section. Please like this video and please subscribe. I know it doesn't seem like a lot, but I just passed 100 subscribers recently, and for me that's a milestone. It's cool to see, and I hope to make more videos and hope to hear from you guys. All right, that's it, and I hope you guys have a good day, having fun playing Rise of Kingdoms.